Alright you guys, today I'm going to show you how to complete lesson 22 in the Code.org Express course. This is geared towards people age 9 to 18, but it's a great way to get introduced to how to do computer programming if you've never done it before and you have no idea how it works. So the first problem or puzzle in lesson 22 just asks us a question here. It's pretty straightforward. It says what will happen when you press run, and now you could just guess on this question and it'll let you proceed, but I have a feeling your teacher, whoever's having you do this, is not going to be very pleased if you just guess randomly and then go ahead without even reviewing it. So let's look at this code here. So we have when run, draw a square, jump backward by 175 pixels, draw a square. So then we can examine this function here that's in green, the draw a square function. It says repeat 4 times, move forward by 100 pixels, turn right by 90 degrees. So if you do that, if you move forward 100 pixels, turn right 90 degrees, move forward 100 pixels, turn right 90 degrees, move forward 100 pixels, turn right 90 degrees, and move forward 100 pixels again, you will draw a square, and you'll end up exactly where you started. But if you then jump backwards 175 degrees, you're going to do the same thing again, but over here. And when you do that, you can look at these answers here and you can see it's not going to do nothing because there's definitely code there. The artist will draw a single square. Well, no it won't, because there's 2 draw squares here. The artist will draw 2 squares that overlap. Probably not, because we're jumping backward by 175 pixels, so we're jumping backward further than the reach of the square. So the only reasonable answer at this point then is D. The artist will draw 2 squares with a small gap in between, and that makes sense if you think about it. And then we hit run, and that's exactly what he does. Awesome. So now we're going to hit continue, and we're going to go on to puzzle 2. So in puzzle 2, it introduces this function draw a square, and again, we saw it in the previous one, but it lets us use it this time, and then it says the 2 squares are 75 pixels apart. So we have to complete these glasses here. So to do this, let's first just let it draw a square. And I think a lot of people are afraid of running their code before it's quote-unquote finished, but that's what debugging is running the code and seeing where things go wrong. So here we're going to go ahead and run this, and you can see that the little zombie draws a square, but we need to get him over here and to draw another square. So the 2 squares are 75 pixels apart. So to get him over here, remember, these side links of the square are 100 pixels long. So we're going to have him move 100 pixels plus 75 pixels and then draw a square again. And to do that is pretty easy. You just put in a move forward and you put 175 for 175 pixels, and then you put the draw a square function in again. We're going to reset and run, and you can see he does exactly what he needs to do. And that's it. So we'll continue on to puzzle 3 now, and in puzzle 3 you can see that we are going to be drawing a star. Each side or arm of the star is 25 pixels long, and then it says you need to turn 45 degrees to get 8 arms, and then it's telling us it's okay to go forward and backward over the same arm. The reason it's telling us that is because we don't have to jump backward. So we can, when you move in the artist mode, you're drawing every time you move, but if in order to move without drawing, you have to jump. And so I'm still just going to go ahead and use this jump, but I'm going to build this function, draw a star, by telling it to move forward 25 pixels, and then jump backward 25 pixels, and then turn right by 45 degrees, and then we're going to repeat this 8 times to get all 8 arms. So we need to bring in a repeat loop here, and we'll let it run 8 times, and we'll just hit run, and you can see the artist goes ahead and draws all 8 arms. Now let me show you what would happen if we, instead of said jump, we had just said move. Move backward by 25 pixels. It should do the same thing and it should still work because it told us it's okay. So either way works in this case. But the best practice, when you draw a star like this, you don't drag your pencil over it unless you're trying to make it darker. So the best practice is to use the jump. But in this case, move works too. So now we're going to continue on to puzzle 4. And this looks like it's combining the first 2 puzzles that we did. So we're going to be drawing a star like we just did in the most recent puzzle. and then we have to jump a distance to draw the next star. So remember, to draw the star, we know what to do at this point. Move forward 25 pixels, jump backward 25 pixels, 25 pixels there, and then turn, well, it doesn't really matter if it's left or right, but I like right, so we'll say to do that. And then how long are each arm? I guess still just 25 pixels. Okay, so turn right by 45 degrees, and then we need to repeat that 8 times per star. Right, so now at this point we know we have draw star, we have the function draw star. So let's just run it to make sure we can indeed draw 1 star. I'm actually going to slow that down a bit so we can see the code run. So now it tells us the jump between the first and second star is 200 pixels. So simply jump forward by 200 pixels and then draw another star, and let's see if that works. So he's going to draw the first star, he's going to draw the second star, and that's it. And it's going to tell us keep coding, something's not right, but that's okay. And then we will jump 100 pixels for the second one, because that's what it tells us right here in the directions. And don't forget to read the directions, because they a lot of times in code.org tell you exactly what to do, not just, you know, draw a star and do this. It's telling you exactly what to do. And so we've jumped forward by 100 pixels, and we'll bring our draw a star function, and I'll speed this up this time so we don't have to watch it go all the way through it. And it jumps right through it and does it, and we can continue on to puzzle 5. Okay, so now we're moving on to puzzle 5 in lesson 22, and you can see we kind of need to do the same thing we did with the stars. So we need to draw a window in this case, and then jump forward by, it says the top windows are 100 pixel jump away from each other, and the bottom windows are 150 pixel jump below the top set. So the easy thing to do here is going to be to create a function to draw the window. And to do that, we're going to use a nested loop, which is basically just a loop inside a loop. And you should understand that by this point. If you've come this far, you should have been using nested loops already. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring a repeat 4 times. We're going to tell it to move forward by 100 pixels, or not 100 pixels, I'm sorry, 25 pixels, and then turn right by 90 degrees. And we'll let that go 4 times just now. Oh, we need to call the function. Draw a window. So there, we've drawn our little square of the window, and so then we need to repeat that, but we need to put one move in between. And so what we can do is tell it to just go ahead and turn right by 90 degrees one more time and put that outside of our loop here. And then we can take another repeat loop and tell it to do this 4 times. And so when I reset and run, you'll see it draws the loop, and I'll slow this down, and I want you to watch this code as it runs. So it draws that one, goes down to here, and then it goes back and repeats, and now it's done it twice, and then 3, and then 4 times. And that's it. It's that easy to get it to draw the window. So our next step is going to be to jump forward 100 pixels to get to this next window, and we're already facing the right direction, so it's perfect. So we're just going to say, oops, not move forward, but jump forward by 100 pixels to get to that next window. And then actually, since we have to do this whole thing 3 times, we can just use another loop and say repeat 3 times, reset, run. And you can see, actually we don't really want to use that repeat, do we? We just want to tell it to draw the window again. We've got the blocks to do it, so we're just going to tell it to do it. Jump forward 100 pixels and then draw a window. And I'll explain why. So if I repeat this 3 times, it's going to draw a window and then jump forward by 100 pixels 3 times. And that's why he ended up over here. So if I reset and run now, you'll see even though we used a few more blocks, it's actually going to be more efficient, because it would have taken more blocks to move our little guy from here all the way back over and then down to here. So now we need to turn right by 90 degrees again. So let's do turn right 90 degrees so that we'll be facing downward, and then jump forward by 150 pixels, because that's how far the top windows are from the bottom windows. And you'll see when I run this, it draws the 3 windows, and then we end up down here, which is where we need to be to draw the next. And so we can just tell it again, draw a window, and it'll draw a window. And then we need to turn right again to get it facing this direction. Turn right by 90 degrees. Jump forward by how many pixels? So each of these windows were 100 pixels away from each other. So if we were going to jump from here to here, it was 100. But if we want to jump from here to here, or in this case from here to here, it's going to be 200 pixels. Jump forward by 200 pixels, and we'll reset and run. And now we're over here, and now we call our function one more time, and we use just the right amount of blocks. And it's drawn all the windows. Excellent. So now we can move on to puzzle number 6. Alright, so again we have our draw a square. So it definitely wants us to draw a square. So start by creating a function for this square. Okay, we'll do that. So we'll just say action, move forward 100. Well, it doesn't say how many pixels it is, does it? But I guess it looks like about 50. And then we'll turn right by 90 degrees, and we'll repeat that 4 times. Just like that. Oops, what did I do? Oh, I'm sorry, we want to turn left. There, and now it's done it. Yay, okay. So we're going to continue on to puzzle 7, I assume? That was kind of easy, wasn't it? Okay, so in this one it goes ahead and gives us a function for draw a square because we just built that function. So now we're going to say draw a line of squares. So let's go ahead and let it run. Well, we're going to put a function within a function here. We're going to put draw a square. And we're going to let it run, and we're right back here, so we need to move 50, 100 pixels right there. So we need to do draw a square, move forward, jump forward, 100 pixels, and we need to repeat that probably 3 times. And that's it. It just does it just perfectly. So we'll hit replay here so you can see. Slow it down a little bit. So you can see it executes the function draw a square, and then while doing that, or while doing the line of squares, it calls the function draw a square, and then it runs that jump. And you can see our guy ends up over here at the very end, which wouldn't work if we needed to do other stuff, but since that's all we needed to do, it'll work. Alright, so now we'll go on to puzzle number 8. I remember these puzzles now. You move through these ones fairly quickly. Okay, so now we have built draw a square and draw a line of squares. And this looks complicated, but when you think about it, it's really not. So what we need to do is draw a line of squares, just like this, and I'll speed it up since we've already done it. And then we basically just need to turn around and go back the other way, because if you turn 180 degrees and you're facing the opposite direction, well then every right turn you made, or every left turn you made, is going to be a right turn. So let's just do exactly that. Let's go turn, we'll just say left this time, by 180 degrees, and then we'll tell it to draw a line of squares again. And you'll be able to see as it runs, I don't want to slow it down that much, I still want it to go quick enough. You can see it runs through all the code just like that, and it draws it all. Not too hard. Alright, so now we're going to move on to puzzle 9. Oh no, how are we ever going to do this? Well, it's not that hard. We're going to do the same thing we did in puzzle 8, but we're going to do it several times. So we need our functions to do something, and I'm not sure why it got rid of all of our functions at this point, but we want to draw a square, and we're going to need to draw a line of squares as well. And you can name your functions whatever you want as long as you know what they are and what they do. So we have in our square, we need to move forward by 50 pixels. Let's move these away a little bit. There we go. 50 pixels. And then turn left by 90 degrees. And we need to repeat this 4 times to get it to draw the square. And let's make sure that works. Oh, let's call the function. Goodness gracious. Okay, so that works. We can draw the square. And then to draw the line of squares, remember we do square and then we jump forward by 100 pixels. So let's just say jump forward by 100 pixels, and then we put our square in there, and we tell it to repeat this 1, 2, 3 times for this line. So we use our loop repeat 3 times, and that should, oops, when we call our function for line of squares, we'll run it. Okay, great. And then if we turn 180 degrees left or right, and then tell it to do it again, it will indeed draw those. And then we need to turn again. This time we're going to be turning left by 90 degrees, and then we have to jump forward by 100 pixels to get to right here, and then we can turn left by 90 degrees again. So we can't just do a 180 this time. We have to actually jump to this next line. And we will do that. We jumped, and then we're going to turn left by 90 degrees again, and then we will simply repeat this entire thing. So we did here, when we run this, it'll draw that line of squares and that line of squares, and then jump down here, which will put us effectively here, but on this new line. So we drew 2, and we need to draw 2 more, and then we need to draw 2 more. So if we're going to repeat this whole thing, we can just tell it we want to do it 3 times, and it will draw the entire thing. And congratulations, you have completed puzzle 9. So let's move on to puzzle 10. Alright, this is the challenge puzzle, which I encourage everybody to do because it's good practice, and for a lot of people it's for a grade. So we have been drawing squares, but to draw a triangle, it's not much more difficult. So each triangle has sides of 50 pixels, so we're going to go ahead and make a function, call it triangle, and tell it to move forward 50 pixels. But it's not a 90-degree turn, it's not a right turn this time. It says to draw a diamond, you will need to alternate between turning 60 degrees and 120 degrees. Well, so let's break this up. To draw a triangle, you can just turn 120 degrees out this way, because a 120 degree exterior angle is going to be the same as a 60 degree interior angle. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to turn right by 120 degrees. And then we're going to tell it to do that 3 times. So put a repeat loop in, tell it to do this 3 times, and we'll hit run. Whoops, we need to call our function. I always forget to do that. So you can see, whoops, that was fast. Alright, so we're going to see it draw the triangle just like that. And then we need it to do something else. So to draw the diamond, which I believe is just this shape. Well, let's not worry about the diamond. I know a different way to do it. Let's do it as a line of triangles instead of worrying about the diamond. So let's make another function, and we'll call it triangle line. And for the triangle line, we will tell it we need to repeat it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And it's already in there as 4 times. And we're going to tell it to do the function triangle and then to jump forward by 50 pixels because each side is 50 pixels. So we want to jump to here, draw a triangle, jump to here, draw another triangle, just like that. So then our action, jump forward 50 pixels. So now let's see if that will work when I call the function triangle line. So you can see it draws a line of triangles for me, which is nice. Everybody likes that. And then we can tell it we want to turn right by, remember how it was 120 degrees here and this other angle, so the two angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So here it's only going to be a 60-degree turn that we have to make. So we'll say turn right by 60 degrees, and then we'll tell it to draw another line of triangles, and it should do just that. Okay, so now we're just going to do the same thing again. We're going to tell it to repeat it 2 times because we're almost out of blocks here. And look at that, we're coming in under the required amount of blocks. Through a little bit of thinking and geometry, we're not using all 14 blocks. So you'll see, whoops, sorry, we need to tell it to turn again. I forgot about the complementary angle there. So we need to turn right by 120 degrees right there. So now, there we go. Now it did it. And it still only used 13 of the 14 blocks. Oh no, 14 of the 14 blocks. Sorry. Alright, so we're going on to puzzle number 11 here. And in this one, we actually have to draw hexagons instead of triangles or squares. And hexagons are a bit more complicated, but they're really not that hard anyway. So let's start again. In code.org, you really only need to think about what your character needs to do step by step and then find ways to make that do that just faster. So step 1 in this is going to be, let's see if we can make the zombie draw a hexagon. So we have a hexagon, and each hexagon, repeat the side 6 times, turning 60 degrees in between. Okay, so we need to move forward by 25 pixels and then turn right by 60 degrees. The reason I'm turning right is because I'm coming up here, and so I have to turn right because that leg is off to the right. If I had to go up here and then do it, it depends on the direction your zombie is facing when you begin. So different puzzles have the zombie or your character facing in different directions. So you have to think about which direction to turn relative to your character, not so much to yourself, but to your character. Okay, so then we can repeat this 6 times. And let's see if we get a hexagon. We need to call the function. Nick, why don't you remember to call your function? So let's run. So it drew a hexagon, and it traced this hexagon here, which is exactly what we needed to do. So great. Great, great, great. So we can draw the hexagon. So now we need to do something else. Just like with the triangles and the windows and everything, we need to draw a line of hexagons. But I'm just going to call this super hexagon. Leave a comment down below if you know what that is in reference to. I will personally like that comment if you know what super hexagon is. So we are now, for super hexagon, we need to incorporate jumping between each hexagon that we've drawn. So that's not going to be too hard. We're just going to say within super hexagon, we need to have the hexagon function, and then we need to jump forward by 25 pixels. And that should work just fine. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexagons in each row. So we're going to repeat this 8 times to draw a row of 8 hexagons. And call the function superhexagon. And boom, we have one line just like that. And now we only have to turn and repeat, and then turn and repeat again. So remember those complementary angles. So on this one, it's going to be 60 degrees, and when we get down here, it's going to be 120 degrees. And then from here on out, it's basically the same as when we did the squares. So we're going to turn right by 60 degrees, and then we're going to say superhexagon, and then we're going to turn right again, and this time by 120 degrees because these two angles have to add up to 180 degrees. And then we basically just need to do the same thing over again. Once it's done this, we just need to do the exact same thing. So we're just going to use a loop, and we're going to tell it to do it twice, and we used 14 out of our 14 blocks, so let's hope this works. I think it's going to. Alright, so that worked indeed. So we finished puzzle 11. Let's move on to puzzle number 12. Okay, so this is another one that just poses a question. So it says, what happens when you press the run button? So this is just a check for understanding. Remember, I said you work from the bottom up. So let's start at the most basic function we have here. It says repeat 4 times, move forward by 40 pixels, turn right by 90 pixels. So that's going to draw a square with 40 pixel sides and end up back where it started. Yes, yes. And so then it says draw a line of polygons, which I don't know why it's saying polygon. It should just say square. Even though square is a polygon, we all know this is a square. So it's going to draw one square and then jump forward by 40 pixels, and then it's going to repeat that 8 times. So it's going to draw one square, jump forward 40, draw. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's going to draw that polygon. Okay, so we know how that function is going to run. And so then we can look at our main executed code here. Repeat 4 times, do, draw polygon. Well, wait a second. Draw polygon is not the same as draw a line of polygons. So it's not going to draw a square of little polygons like this. I think it's going to draw a small square of polygons because it's only drawing the polygon 4 times instead of drawing the line of polygons 4 times, in which case we would be drawing the polygon 8 times per side for a total of 32 polygons. So let's look at our potential answers here. So we have the artist will solve the puzzle correctly. Well, we already know that's not going to happen because it's drawing a polygon instead of a line of polygons. The artist will draw 4 squares in a window pattern. That seems pretty likely, but let's see what other options we have. The artist will draw only 1 line of squares. Well, we know that's not going to happen because there's no 8 in this code up here, so it's definitely not going to draw a full line of 8 squares. The artist will draw 4 squares on top of one another. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think B is probably the correct answer here. But let's think about that. Could it also be D? The artist will draw 4 squares on top of one another. So if it draws a polygon 1, 2, 3, 4 and ends up in the exact same place, oh, but then it's going to turn right by 90 degrees. So I think it's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, turn right by 90 degrees, go 1, 2, 3, 4, turn right by 90 degrees, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, turn right by. So it's the window. The artist will draw 4 squares in a window pattern. Let's run. That's exactly what happened. Okay, cool. Let's move on to number 13. Oh, this one it says you can just do whatever you want. So let's go ahead and just call some functions and let it do what we want it to do. And let's tell it to repeat it a bunch of times, shall we? Let's tell it to repeat it, 100 times. Okay, so now while it does this, well, it's gone off on its own tangent, but you can see the code still running here. While it's doing that, I'll end the video here. So this has been lesson 22 of code.org. I hope you found this helpful and useful. Please like this video if it did help you. Leave some comments down below if you have questions or if this changes and you need me to make an updated video. And subscribe to me if you want to see more videos like this or more videos that I do about other things. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.